All right. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, 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 I'm Kimberly Smith Austin, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Made to Inspire podcast. I am here today with my awesome and amazing co-host, Misty Kerrigan. Hey, Misty.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We are back. It is amazing because it is summer and we're still consistently putting into work. I think it's because maybe we have a system.
Oh, yeah. Super duper important. Before we get into it, I want to say happy Juneteenth. Super excited. I don't know if you know, but Juneteenth is now an official holiday and it's being observed today around the United States. Juneteenth was established back in 1865, but we finally put it on the calendar 2021. I hope that you all are getting an opportunity to have a day off, maybe relax, refresh from this weekend because we had so much going on. Also want to take this time to say happy Father's Day to all of our fathers out there. Thank you for listening. I hope that you also had a chance to relax and do something that you love because I'm sure you deserve it. So now that I've got all that fine stuff out of the way, today's show, we're going to be talking all about systems. You know, it's summertime, and the summer is your time to sizzle, to relax, enjoy, and just give yourself a break. But here's the truth. When you are building a business or establishing your organization or building in any sort of way, now is the time to fine tune some things, i.e. your system. We want to take this time to really, instead of looking at a full break, look at how you can spend a little time here and there throughout the summer to fine tune your system so that when fall or when your buyers, your clients, your prospects are ready to buy, you're ready. Systems are everything. System is the road to success. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, and we're super excited to talk. Now, with that, Misty, let's get it started just talking a little bit about this whole system concept. What is that and what does it mean?
So the crazy part is a lot of people, when they start sole proprietorship or it's their business, a lot of the thing revolves around them and what they're doing and how they do it. They become the business, if you will, which is okay if you want that business to die when you die or retire when you retire. The thing with business, though, is that the reason to create a business is to sell it. And I love a quote I heard. It says, if someone else isn't going to buy your business, make sure that you are. So I was talking with a friend this weekend, and he is a licensed contractor. He has a pool company. They're expanding into building houses, and they were a signature away from taking over a plumber, a guy that knows everything about plumbing. I'm going to call him Bob's Plumbing. It was amazing. And he realized once he started getting in deeper into the books and talking to Bob and seeing, kind of analyzing the company, he realized there was no systems. It was just Bob. Everyone loved Bob. Everyone called Bob. Bob's been doing this for 30 years. Bob was ready to retire, didn't have anyone to take it over, was super excited to sell it because of his reputation and his amount of customers. But the guy buying it couldn't buy it because he was only buying Bob. Mm-hmm. No systems, no how do you follow ups, no marketing, no nothing. And so the deal fell through. And unfortunately, when Bob retired, so did the plumbing company.
Yeah, that's common practice.
That's common, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why it's so important to have a system, but not only just have a system, have a documented system that people can plug into and play. That is the key. And I love it that the person that was going to buy the business did his due diligence to determine that, wait a minute, yeah, this is a viable business. Yes, they're making revenue, but they don't have systems in place. So what he would have done is found himself walking into an environment where he'd had to create everything. And it sounds like he wasn't in a position, nor did he desire to come in that position. So what I see is that Bob, the plumber, was the bottleneck of the system. And so today we want to talk a little bit about how you can remove yourself in some ways, create a documented system so that others can come in and you are not the bottleneck. Business must go forward, and business can successfully go forward with a sound and solid system.
Yeah. A way to tell if you're a business owner, not an employee in your own business, is if you step away from a month and come back, it should be making more money, not none.
Mm. I love that. I love that. And so often people get so connected, they get so intertwined in their business, and that they lose sight of what they're really doing, why they're establishing the business. It's supposed to be for freedom, freedom for themselves, freedom for their family, but also something that other people can plug into, but not when you're the bottleneck. That's good. So, Misty, let's talk about some of the things that we have outlined as we look at systems. The first thing we want to encourage you to do, number one, is to review. Review your organization, review your processes, your procedures, and check and see, do you have a system or is it all contained within your brain? And I'll tell you, years and years ago, I recognized that I was here and I was the bottleneck. I was the system because I kept everything inside of my head. I remember the day I hired my first assistant. She was amazing because she sat down with me and she took everything that was in here and she put it on paper and created a system for me. But I'll tell you, it wasn't until her and I started working together that we sat down to say, what are the systems? What do you want me to do? What do I need to do? That review process that we discovered that there was no system in place. So when you think about your business, you want to start by taking a review. What are your processes? What's your sales process? What's your marketing process? What's your HR process? Looking at what's your IT technology process. Look at those core divisions in your business and take a quick glance review to determine if you in fact have a system.
I love that. And if you don't, that's a good review too. Where are you spending most of your time? Because usually if there's no systems in place, it's you.
That's right.
And most of your time is going into the procedures and policies and the little stuff that adds up instead of the sales and marketing, and specifically the service after you've sold something and marketed it.
That's
Especially in our service industry. So really taking that look and seeing a lot of times too, unfortunately with us in our older generations, is we don't realize the technology that's available on apps and programs to be able to take on some of your systems so that you could step out of them. You don't even have to hire anyone else. You just learn a system or jump onto a system, put a couple hours into it in the beginning, and that system runs. So it's a great thing too to look at what systems are you using. I know a lot of people struggle with how to set up your schedule. There's a whole system for that. We're actually switching ours over to a better system. But the other thing that people look at too is your finances. There could be a system for your finances.
Right.
Instead of that one time a year when taxes are due, starting to review and get scared and spend time doing it, is if things are already in place at the smaller time, they're capturing stuff to be able to help you decrease your stress and decrease your time because the smaller systems already are putting into place. So don't even freak out about starting big. You could really take this time when you're reviewing to the second step, redefine where are some of the smaller things and where could I start to start gaining confidence and momentum in this whole system things. Because some people we coach, they like to control everything. And the funny part is this is a better way to control it because it's happening without you, but you could still oversee it.
Absolutely. And I think having that systematic approach gives you control because you've created a plan, a method in which things are to be done. You now are in control and you can identify where the gaps may exist when someone comes off course with the system or systematic approach you have created. So, guys, this is a win-win. When you think about it, on the front end, it's going to take work. That review time is going to take work because as you review, you're going to make some discoveries. What's working well, what's not working well, and what are the areas that you can tweak to ensure that you're setting yourself and your business up for success. Or maybe if you're an executive, you're setting yourself, your employees, your department up for success. Either way, it's a win-win-win. So now just going back into that redefine, Misty, I look at that and I think when you take the review, you're getting into your systems and you're saying, this is working. And when something's working, normally what we want to do, or better yet, what we should do is duplicate that thing over and over and over again. Unfortunately, some of us who are never satisfied, we will then go break it and create a new system and create chaos in our organization. We definitely don't want to do that. When we look at the redefine process, we wanted to redefine those areas of opportunities. What's working well? How do we fine tune it and make it better? Maybe those areas that are not working well that could use some improvement. Let's look at what's broken and fine tune that, redefine it, recreate. And here's the best thing: if you are not a solopreneur and you're working with a team, get your team involved, help them, because if their hands are in the deck and they're all hands in, they get to see what's working. From a leadership standpoint, sometimes we're at that 10,000 level view and we don't see the actual hands on approach. Get those folks that are in their hands, that are in the dirt, that are in the trenches, doing the work to help you redefine so that you can create a system that is successful for everyone. When you know what's broken and you take the time to redefine, to recreate, you give yourself an opportunity to create success.
Absolutely. It doesn't even have to be broken. When you know where you're spending most of your time that isn't generating most of your revenue, that's not working. Those are the things to really get out and see. The things that drag you down, the things that keep you from doing the things that you love or why you started in the first place. Now, if you have people, great trick of the trade is have them write down the things that they do consistently. Because
Absolutely.
unfortunately, if we don't have systems, our employees create their own system. And when they leave, same thing, if we leave, the system leaves with them. So it's always a great practice to know what's going on and what people are doing. So that way, when you have it, as Kimberly was saying, as your standards, operating procedures, you could onboard and off people so much faster and more effectively without taking that time to disrupt your business.
That's right. And that's really critical when you're redefining. And this is also the time, based on your review, as you redefine, looking at maybe future things that you want to do, things that may not be in place, because some things are working well, some things are not working well. But what do you want to and need to have built into your operation so that you can succeed? Which brings us to number 3, which is all about rebuild. And I say rebuild or build. Let's change that. Rebuild or build. And the reason we say rebuild is because we're looking at the things that aren't working well or the things that need to be tweaked and fine-tuned. And again, with the assistance of your team, guys, don't skip that part. Just because you're the leader, just because you're the boss, just because you're at the top of the organization, you're running things, don't skip it. As Misty said, your team, get them to write down what they're doing so that when you rebuild, it's going to be based on everyone's input. Because again, we are better together, we're stronger together, and knowing that you can input that into your operation. So as you rebuild, think about, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? We always go back to that why. Because sometimes, you think of the example of the lady who cooked the ham at Christmas time. And I'm going way off base, but I want to give you an example. She cooked the ham at Christmas time. She learned from her mother. And every year when she put that ham out, she cut the butt of the ham off and she was ready to move. And when one day someone challenged her and said, why? And she goes, I don't know. My mother did it. So she went back and asked her mother, well, why do you cut the butt off the ham? And the mother said, I don't know. It's because my mother did it. So what they found, it was a legacy. No one had a definition as to why. So when you're in the process of rebuilding your systems, clearly know why you're building them, what you want to accomplish, where you're going, because those things are going to help you create that success. Successful systems will help you create the revenue, will help you create the growth that your organization desires. So rebuild, but also build for those missing links and things that you currently don't have in place.
I love that story because the thing was their pan was small.
That's it.
So all those years later on, it was when the bigger pans were, it was just a waste, because if they were doing it for the pan and years later the pan was different, you're throwing away, you're wasting. Where's the waste at? And I know one thing about supervising employees for the last, 20 years, is that employees work 9 to 5. Employees work 40 hours a week, and they will fill that time. Unfortunately, sometimes they'll fill that time with a lot of waste. And then the fillers become what the systems are, and the systems aren't robust, they're fatty. And so
Mhm.
if you're going through them and look at it, what you can do is create more robust systems, rebuild or build them, so that you can look at, now that I know I have more time, especially with employees, I can change some of the systems to be more impactful, even add some new ones. Now that's even for yourself, not just for having employees, because sometimes we'll get bogged down in routine. And a lot of times we've learned from entrepreneurs is that routine is sometimes made out of fear of not wanting to do cold calls or set up the things that they don't want to do. So they do the 20 things before it. And that unfortunately starts to take away time and energy. And by the time you're doing the things you need to do, you're tired and upset. So that could be anything from having the employee that does it, or even yourself is really looking at, what have I created out of need and what have I created out of fear?
Absolutely. I love that, Misty. And as you were speaking, I was just thinking about a situation, a recent client that I was working with, newly job. She was actually an employee at taking on a manager level at a company. And she had an employee who she was frustrated with. And it all boiled down to he wasn't producing the numbers. He wasn't producing the numbers. And my question to her was, well, what is his tracking system? What methods is he following to make sure he's doing the right thing? And she goes, well, I don't know. And I said, well, that's the problem. That's the gap that exists. So now at this point, I encouraged her to create a standard operating procedure from the time he walked in the door to the time he left for the day. And what it included was different matrix, different processes that he need to undergo when he made calls. How did he follow up? Or what was his process of documenting the work that he did? And they then established this as a day-to-day routine. And I encouraged
Hmm.
her not only for that employee, but to put it in place for all of the new employees. You know, you're new coming in and you don't know their work style, they don't know yours, but slowly introduce this and roll it out to the organization. And as a result, guess what? Their numbers have grown. They have grown 7 times more than they did prior to her being in position. And it's all because she put a system in place. And it started with the standard operating procedures, a way to track the sales, a way to track phone calls, and ensure they had everything they needed to succeed.
What get measured gets managed. I love
That's
that.
right.
Very, very smart. Which leads us to our fourth kind of thing when you're going through your systems and looking at the things is taking that time to recapture some of the things that have been left aside,
Mhm.
and really taking that time. If you've been in business for years, some of the things years ago, sometimes they time out. They don't matter as much, especially as you bring in technology. Oh my gosh, COVID had switched a bunch of things. Um, if something happens to you and you're stressed, unfortunately, what happens is something that is in for a short amount of time, if it's not looked at, it'll take over. So you really
Mhm.
have to recapture some of the things of the whys, as Kimberly is saying. Why are we doing it this way? What do we really need? And unfortunately, 9 out of 10 people that we've worked with don't have a plan. They don't have a plan. They're just kind of doing day by day and making it as they go. So you need to recapture some of those things of where I want to be in 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year. Because if you recapture your goals, you recapture your whys, then you could take that fresh time to look at what system's going to help you get there, not what system's just going to help you stay above water. Because those systems, unfortunately, are different. The system that keeps you above water does not help you propel forward to action towards where you want to go. It just keeps you alive of where you're at.
That's so good, Misty. I love that. And that reminds me of the start of our call. I have right here our journal, my journal for our business. And what happened is I was sitting in the airport coming home from Chicago, and I decided to open this up and go page by page by page. And when you talk about recapture, recapturing the why, recapturing why you're in business, what you're passionate and excited about. As I went through this book, Misty, and I say this to you, I found so many visions, so many dreams, so many aspirations, so many goals that we wanted to do. And as a result of going through this, I then made a new list of ways and systems that we can use to go forward. I'm super excited. But guess what? That doesn't happen if you don't take the time to review, you don't take the time to redefine, you don't take the time to rebuild or build. won't lead you to the recapture. Recapture is everything. And when you know that, you'll take the time to say, okay, why am I here? Why do I exist? And where am I taking this business? Recapturing the joy of what you're doing. That will create a successful system that will bring you the billions, the millions, and zillions that your heart desires.
I love that. Recapture the joy.
That's it. Because that's everything.
Doing.
You know, because in the end, think about this. In the end, everything that we do, everything we should do, should be centered around joy, happiness. I've learned in this lifetime, I'm not doing something I don't like anymore. At my age, you know what? I used to because I had to, but today I get to choose my life. And as you, Mr. Business Owner, entrepreneur, emerging leaders, so do you. Decide where you want to spend your time. And the best way to decide is by creating a system for your personal time, which we talked about, for your business time. All these things come back hand in hand. It starts with systems. Systems are evident. Systems are present in every aspect of our life, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. And that's why systems are everything, and we must create them today and for the future.
I sound like I'm running for president. I might vote for you.
Systems for president.
Systems. Now it sounds insane and crazy, but systems will save your butt. Systems will decrease your stress. Systems will grow your business. The hard part about being an entrepreneur is always if it's just you.
Yeah.
And so we've created some action steps. And guess what? We did it this summer because, like our 2 other episodes we've talked about, you know, there's a little bit of decrease sometimes for some of us. And this is a great time to set up a system for when you review your system so that you're not stressed and thinking about it all year. The best thing we could do as entrepreneurs is put the stuff on a schedule and take it out of our brain. If we know every July you're going to take the week or one day a week out of July, then all year you just take notes and you don't stress. You go like, oh yeah, I have to look at my mailing system. Put that on the list, but then it's gone and you don't have to for the next what? Usually you wake up, oh, my mailing system, you're eating lunch, oh, my mailing system, oh, you're going home for the day. I didn't get to my mailing system. And all that adds up, times that by the 20 things that if something in life happens, you don't get to. So creating that system for your systems also helps you during the year because you're like, I'm absolutely going to look at that during the time I measure my system. And for my newest entrepreneurs, you know, we do our accountability group. And from what we've trained in our accountability group, one of our gals, she makes earrings and she created the system. She thought, you know, I always get stressed out right before the holidays because I don't have enough inventory. So what she's doing during the summer is building up her inventory so that when she gets closer to the holidays, she's just going to focus on her marketing and not her inventory. Because before she was so stressed, make it, market it. But now I went to her house over the weekend and her entire guest room is just filled with product. And I was super excited because it's not stressful to her because this is the downtime to get creative and make it. And she was even looking at, she wants to do a pop-up store and sell some of her products. So she's putting into place different places to sell her product, but systematically, not stress-wise. I could do my pop-up store in August and have this much. I could then push this towards Christmas and sell the rest of the inventory, which will, and all our finances are being recorded, not a, oh, I'll buy this for 10 or just buy it for 15. Nope. Everything is intentional. And I think that's what we do in systems is just make it intentional. And so we have 3 steps to help you make this intentional. So 1, it's not overwhelming. And 2, you could get more done for a shorter amount of time.
That's it.
So
kick us off, Misty. There you go.
Step 1. You know, normally we have our acrostics, but we're going to give you the ABCs of creating and reviewing your system. The ABCs of creating and reviewing your system. A, assess, audit, analyze what you are doing in the places you have systems and in the places you need systems. Just take that time. The easiest thing to do is write out your day.
That's it.
Write out your day. I saw this amazing schedule. It said things I planned to do today, things I actually did. And it went hour by hour. So you could track yourself during the week on, are you not allowing yourself enough time to get the things done that you have marked in your calendar to do? So other times, another way to do your calendar is after you write everything in, go to the bottom and just knock out the 3 things most important for the day. And did you get to it? Because if you're not doing the most important things, start there. Don't get yourself overwhelmed. For 1 week, track yourself and see how great you are at that, and then review it.
That's it. That's it. I just want to add to that point, when you look at assessing, auditing, and analyzing your systems, one little handy tool I want to give you: get a binder, a systems binder, a systems notebook. And we love that because we talk about that in our Ideas to Inspiration book. We talk about it in our Ideas to Inspiration podcast, because a lot of times we have ideas, we have things that are churning through our head, but we have to put it down somewhere. Whether you do digital or you do a paper copy, create that binder and then give yourself, as we've talked about in other shows, time to review it, because that's how you can analyze, that's how you can assess, that's how you can audit your systems. You have to have it documented somewhere. And so that's going to be critical for you. Grab that binder, grab away. And every time you get a thought on change, thought on improve, thought on anything, drop it in here. And you've got one notebook that's going to bring you value for you and for the people that you work with. So that's really that other piece. I want to think about number 2, or step into number 2. Now, here's the tough part. And we talked about it already as we went through the first part, but build the system. If you find that there's things that are absent, things that are not in place, now is the time, folks. As I mentioned, I talked about the lady that I was coaching. She built a standard operating procedure for one individual, but it turned out to be for her entire staff. Now is the time for you to build your system. And once you get it built, guys, think about, how do you automate it? How do you put it in place so that you can have success? Now, one thing, caveat: building a system will take time. I want you to recognize that. And as Misty said, it's summertime. And I know you want to relax and enjoy. Here's what I want you to do: schedule it in your calendar, as we've spoken about and mentioned before, but schedule it and actually do it, right? That's super important. Because if you spend an hour a day, 2 hours a day during your summer, while you're kicking back at the pool, while you're reading your book, bring your binder and create the time to do this type of work. Because I assure you, when the sales season is ready, you're going to be ready. It's almost like the quote: when the student is ready, the teacher appears. When the the purchaser is ready, the buyer appears, your business appears. And that's what you want to do. We want to spend this summer just relaxing, yes, but using that time relaxing to build our system. Because here's the truth: stress is a distraction. Stress creates where we procrastinate. So if you're doing it during your downtime, where you're not in the middle of a client, you're not in the middle of a project where you're trying to fine tune and make it work, but instead you're doing it during your downtime, you're not stressed out. You give yourself the opportunity to create some really good systems that will work well for you now and for years to come. So take that time to really build that system. Think about, what are the components? Who's involved? Who should I get involved in building this system? What does this look like? And then create, and be ready to also recreate. Because sometimes you'll build a system, you'll get other people involved to audit the system that you've created, and it may not be just right. So you'll have to make some tweaks, but then you'll be ready for a full system when fall, or when your season is ready, you're ready.
And if on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being things are and 5 being bankruptcy, where do you want to figure out that the things aren't working? At 1 or 2 level, right? Absolutely. Not a 4 or 5 when you finally get the information. And the more you grow, the more people are going to be into those systems, the better it is you get the numbers to you that you need to fly the plane. So when you're building your systems, a lot of that looks like is take yourself out of them, if not only to be able to come back and manage them. Even at first, if you're playing 2 hats, is That's to right. be able to get you to that level of owning the business where you're getting the numbers that you need to run the system. Once you, step 3 is create the consistency you need to run the systems effectively. I was reading a book and it says Walmart's numbers hit every hour. Those big antenna things on top of the store were put in there not for the TVs, but for the main office to shoot over the number, the POS, every time there's a sale. All those numbers hit Walmart so they can adjust during the day, not even the next day, not at night when they're closed, but during the day adjust. So they're making sure they're hitting it. And all that was a system that they put in place. That's how important it is. And the consistency comes that corporate gets the numbers every hour. Decisions in corporate are made within that next hour and action is taken.
That's good.
I thought that's crazy. And I want you to think, how often do you review your numbers? How often do you review your systems? And what is that consistency? Are you every Monday morning, do you start a certain way? And every Friday, or if you're Monday through Friday, do you end a certain way? That's where we're looking for the consistency. You're not making up the week every week as you go, because that does become stressful and reactive. But even if things are crazy, you're starting it with your routine every morning. I'm opening up the books. Every Friday, I close the books looking at what that looks like. So I could already come in and set changes that need to take place on a level 1 instead of waiting for a level 4 where changes are happening to me. So step 3 is creating those consistency moments and processes where you're reviewing your systems and ensuring that your systems are staying consistent, because it's not a system if you don't do it consistently. It's just another task that you're doing.
That's right. You said it, dead ringer on the dot. It is just another task that you're doing. I love that, Misty, because that is everything. Now, when you're in the process, one thing I want you to think about while you're, number 1, assessing, analyzing, audited, number 2, building that system, and number 3, creating consistency. One thing I want to challenge you to do, and this is going to be tough, but it's well worth it. Walk away from it. Walk away from the system that you created. Walk away, because like writing a book, sometimes you write it, and you walk away. And when you come back, you have a clear view. And you want to do the same thing in your system building process. Walk away so you can make sure that what you meant, what you intended, and even your heart today is still connected to that. But all in all, guys, it's time. Assess, audit, analyze, build the system, and create the system, create the consistency so your system will last for now. But we also know things change, but they'll be built up so it will last forever. Super excited. I hope that you're able to take something away from today's talk, today's podcast. We wanted to really help you use your time wisely during the summer. We're not here to say work, because we know that a person that works all day is a boring person. We want to challenge you to do the work while you're relaxing so that you can come out on the other end better, faster, stronger, more developed organization than you ever imagined. And like we say every single week, there is something out here waiting for you.
Now create a system and go get it.